Yeah, jiggy jiggy.
Malawi. And today I've got another very special guest, Mr. Twape Mtila.
What up?
How's it going, man?
All is well, brother.
So good to have you here, bro.
It's good to be here, man.
Give us a quick introduction, who you are and what you do.
Oh, man. You should tell the people who I am. You're the one who asked me to come here.
All
no.
right. Okay.
But I mean, yeah, you should.
I'll give it a go and then you fill in the blanks.
Let's do that.
All right, so Twape is a guy that bullied me in high school. I'm joking. He never did.
He didn't.
we go way back. I like to put Twape as one of those guys, one of the rare people who is, you know the term a jack of all trades, but a specialist in none. I think he's a specialist in many trades because he does a lot. Studied economics.
Yes, sir.
If I'm correct. Financial advisor.
Yes, sir.
For a while. Thereafter started Twape's podcast. Started the hip hop movement that is beats, bars, and culture, and we will discuss that. And currently is into distribution. He's like Atlantic.
Yes.
Those are the many hats I'll put you on, but I would like you to introduce yourself as a person and maybe anything else I missed.
Thank you. But as you said, Twape, I'm an economist, full-time dad, businessman, podcaster, religious tweeter of Jay-Z lyrics, hardcore Liverpool fan, and
I'm so thankful you didn't wear your Liverpool jersey. I was worried.
I'm trying to keep the peace, but I think it, primarily in the context of our conversation, in the context of the conversations we've been having, I am an individual who really likes to, and we'll talk about, I'm assuming we'll talk about my podcast, but if somebody was to ask me what my podcast is about, it's primarily about having conversations about things that I think we don't talk about enough. And I think a common theme throughout my podcast and through my conversations and a lot of the things that I do and the things that inform the things that I do is to be able to have a conversation with yourself about what you really want to do and to go ahead and do it. So whether it's you want to do a podcast, you want to throw a hip hop party, you want to follow your dreams, you want to follow your passions, you want to change your religion, you want to be a different type of father to the type of father that raised you, you want to be a different type of Malawian, you want to be but the point being that have a conversation with yourself, critically think about what you're doing and how you interact with the world around you, and then put it out into the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'd say you're a pioneer in my view, and I say pioneer because so by the way, for anyone who picks up during the course of this conversation that it may feel like we have had a previous conversation on this, it's because Studio Oxygen came here and messed up everything. You know what I mean? We had a simple setup. We were like, catch me on Zoom.
Yeah.
Things are gonna be nice. Editing for who? Intro what? Yeah, we're gonna have like a little graphic and that's your intro. But yeah, Studio Oxygen decided to level us up, and now unfortunately I'm beholden to that quality. And so me, Twape and I, we recorded a podcast previously. This is the second turn.
Yeah.
But we think it's gonna be for the best. And also gave me a chance to wear my LeBron inspired outfit.
Here we go.
It's topical. Don't let LeBron be the one who gets to wear matching outfits. Okay. Back on track. So the reason I say you're a pioneer, and it's because we have had this conversation, it's because you're one of the people who I will hear say something, and I'll bring it home, and we'll discuss. I want us to discuss the podcast first. I think that's, for this conversation, be the most topical thing.
Yeah.
We were at Sunday Blues, and you said, Ruben, what would it be like if you went to a party and all you heard was hip hop? And I was like, that would be so dope, man.
Right.
Really, I don't know how you remember how on board I was with that, because I'm a big hip hop fan. Yeah, a month later, beats, bars, culture happened.
Right.
We'll discuss that, but I think it's that mentality, and similarly so. I remember I was chilling one day and I just saw you tweeting, and I was like, drop his podcast.
Yeah.
I was like, drop has got a podcast. It was at that time, weird thing was now I have a podcast,
yeah.
But I have told you many times you did inspire me to start this podcast. So Fela and Malawi would not have existed if Drop His Podcast did not exist. So you seem to be someone who, if you get an idea and you seem to run with it.
Yeah.
So I want to hear what was the what was the thought process behind actually saying, you know what, I'm going to sit down and record a podcast where I have my thoughts, my ideas, and put that out into the world?
These thoughts, these motivations, these talents, these energies we have, they're not our own, right? You have them and you give them to the universe, right? That's where they're supposed to live. If I could rap, I would rap. If I could write poetry, I would write poetry. If I could,
But you used to rap.
I did used to rap before I hung up my mic, because these young boys, they ain't ready for these bars, son.
Okay.
But essentially, I have many talents, but chief among them is that I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I'm not the most analytical guy in the room. But what I do have is I have the ability to articulate myself very, very well. I have the ability to hear you tell me something and I repeat it back to you, and I can say it better than you said, and that's always been the case. And so you get told that you speak well. You should put this somewhere. The podcast was also the result of me feeling very frustrated that these conversations that I'm having with myself, like, I'm not talking to anyone. Like, no one else is hearing what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But for me, essentially, more than anything, it was therapeutic, because it didn't really matter how many listeners there were. As long as I was getting it out, it was therapeutic for me, because I've said it out loud and I put it out into the world. And I kept having conversations with friends and people close to me that were like, you need to share these things. Mm-hmm. And then the switch happens because I read a book which absolutely changed my life. I've spoken about this book so many times. The book is called Unlabel: The Art of Selling Yourself Without Selling Out by Mark Ecko. Mm-hmm. The book is a autobiographical, semi-autobiographical business book. Him telling his journey of how he built the media and fashion empire. That was Mark Ecko, which then became Complex, which etc. But the part of the book that is very, very relevant to me was about emotional impact, right? And this is something that we spoke about before, and one of the reasons that I champion your podcast and I love your podcast. And basically what he talks about in the book is that when you create something, whether it's a piece of art, whether it's a Facebook post, when you create something and you give it out to the world, and he has like a formula that he made up in the book, but essentially what he was saying was that even if you're a photographer and you take a picture, the moment that you post it and you put it out to the world, you don't know how far that thing you've created is going to travel. Mm-hmm. So he says in his book, when Bob Marley was sitting in Jamaica writing Redemption Song, there was absolutely no way that he knew the emotional impact that song would have and how far it would travel. There's no way. There's no way for you to say this song is going to travel to this many countries, it's going to reach this many people. And it's not about the people. It's not about the magnitude. It's not about the popularity. It's just that when you produce something, you have no idea how it's going to impact somebody. Mm-hmm. So if you could weight emotional impact, and 1 is when you see something and you're kind of like, meh, and a 10 is when it hits you and it's like, oh man, that's beautiful. Mm-hmm. When you're creating something, you have no idea where on the scale, the thing that you don't know. So when I read that, it was like, well, maybe by doing a podcast, there might be some emotional impact to someone, somewhere. I don't know where, I don't know how long it'll go, I don't know how far it'll travel, but maybe, and my thing is always, when I go, I just want people to say that I did some good. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to agree with what I'm saying, but we're gonna have the dialogue. We're gonna argue about it constructively.
Yeah, constructively.
So that's the background to the podcast.
Well, what I like, even from the first episode and all the way through, I think most podcasts, I wouldn't say 100% because I want to be totally accurate, but I'll go as far as 98%. Very bad at maths. You always say, hit me up, tell me your views.
For sure.
You're always starting a dialogue. And I think that was what I gravitated towards from the first episode. Because I remember, I'm not going to say the name, but a friend of mine, I was like, yo, I just listened to Twape's podcast and it was really good. And the guy was like, it's a similar thing. Maybe it's a human thing. It was like, Dobby has a podcast? Like, yeah. I'm like, you should really try it. And I knew this because I knew the person and we had similar conversations. Where it's like, sometimes you kind of feel like you're in a vacuum. Where it's like, are we the only people thinking this way? Are we the only people who are, discussing these things which seem to be swept under the rug, or they're not the sexiest of topics, but they're really relevant. And when I say not the sexiest of topics, I'm not saying that they're not interesting in and of themselves. But when I go out, when I used to go out, when I'm out in and amongst people, I feel as if I don't have those difficult conversations, those enriching conversations, as much as I want to. Your podcast was the first time in a long time where I felt like, wow, that's something I've been thinking and I've been struggling to talk about, and that's why it also made me want to start my podcast, because I felt we need to have more such conversations, and you have your spin on it, which, as you said, you're very good at articulating. I like how you do, and I thought, okay, maybe I can have my spin on different things. And that for me was really, it was something which resonated with me. And as you said, you never know what impact some have. It impacted me to the point where I was like, I'm gonna
do my own.
Because before that, it was another thing we discussed in your podcast, which was the imposter syndrome.
Right.
But people had told me as well, like, Ruben, you should really do a podcast for a while now. And I was like, who's gonna listen to me?
Right.
Who's actually gonna, But when I've heard what you've spoken about, it made me also realize that, sometimes, because even the creation aspect, when you create and put something into the world, you don't know how far it's going to go. But I think that is the most vulnerable place as a human being.
Yeah.
Because when you release something, it's no longer yours. As you said, it's for all of us.
Yeah.
And you leave yourself bare to be scrutinized, to be discussed. As you said, people can disagree,
100%.
agree, and so I also feel like, the worst time for me is, say, the first hour after I release a new episode. That first hour is like, my nerves are wrecked. I'm just being like brutally honest here. It's like 30 minutes, 2 views.
Yeah.
They hate it.
Yeah.
I knew it was terrible.
But you see, but you see, the thing is that tension, right?
Yeah.
We all do. We all go. See, this is the thing, right? All of us are going through that same tension, but in different ways, at different points, in different scenarios. Now, you've decided to put something on the internet, so it's magnified. But everyone, at some point or another, is going through the process of, do this, how, and the thing is that, as much as, so I've given you my speech so many times about how, we're living in this society where social media is informing so much of what we're doing.
Yeah.
But the point that I want to make about what you just said is that it's not so much about how the other people are going to feel, but so much about how it's going to make me feel. How is it going to make me feel to say, which is why we live in a society now where we want to express our achievements, but we're scared.
Yeah.
And we want to downplay our failures, but we're scared. And it's a constant, I don't know how to say I don't know how to express what I'm trying to say, but I think broadly speaking, the point that I'm trying to make is that what you're talking about, all of us are dealing with it. You're dealing with it in the context, but even if it's not this, it's work.
Yeah.
It's being around your peers in the office. It's being in a meeting with more senior people than you and saying, I really have an opinion about what's going on in this meeting.
Yeah. Should
I pipe up? Should I say it? Is this the moment to say it? What if I don't get that recognition? What if I mess up what I'm trying to say? It's people trying to break the mold in their family situations where now they're getting older, they want to express themselves to their parents and say, this is the path that I want to go. These tensions are there all the time, constantly, like every day. And it's really, really hard. It's really, really, really hard.
It is hard. But here's the thing. It's hard. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, as I said, I don't know if you know this comedian called Bill Burr.
Yes.
Yeah, you know him. He's on this new movie, King of Staten Island.
Okay.
He plays the dad. He's a comedian, and when you see him, he's a brash, hard talker guy. But when you hear him talking, he will say things like, I've got like a debilitating need to be recognized.
Right.
So for him, if he puts something out and he feels that people don't resonate with him, it crushes him.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, when I look at him, I'm like, he's a very successful comedian. I mean, he's not Kevin Hart, for those of you who are like big fans of Kevin Hart in terms of selling out arenas,
Right.
but he's a very accomplished comedian. He's done movies, whatever. And when I heard him say that to this day, 2020, he said it in 2020 even, he said, you know, I want to be accepted so badly that it's bad for me.
Right.
It kind of showed me that, no, we're all going through the same thing, as you say. I'm just trying to echo your point, say we're all dealing with these tensions. And that's why I feel like we need to have the conversations. Because it's only when I sit with Twape and I'm like, yo, because I said this the last time talking, like, yo, on your side, people be like, oh, Twape's got the perfect life, you know.
Right.
You're not an old dude, you know. You're a millennial. We're both millennials.
I don't have any hair though, but
Huh?
all my
You do, it's a brush.
all my hair fell out.
Did you brush your back?
Yeah, it did.
The only thing is you have
Nah.
one hairstyle left. So when you go to the barber shop, you say,
That's all I got.
brush your back.
That's all I
I'm
got.
not asking like you want a high top.
That's all
but
I got.
it's there.
I mean, I see what you're doing. I want to do it, but I don't have anything
Yeah, right.
on the carry on.
If Tory came back,
Tori's not coming back.
but did you see his hairline?
What hairline? His hairline is the shakiest thing.
It's bad.
Yeah, he bought it back. He
bought it
didn't
back.
get it back.
I mean, dude, when Travis podcast is 5 years old, right? You're gonna buy your hairline.
Yo,
back,
bro, when Robert's podcast sells for 100 million, like Joe Rogan's
Like Joe-
podcast, my hairline is coming back.
Exactly. It's just a matter of time.
To your point, you were saying.
I would say that if we don't have these conversations, and if I don't see that a Twape, who I respect, and you know, you're married to a doctor, you're doing all the stuff they're doing, which you're going to discuss. So I would look at you, and I'm saying this not just myself, but third party in general. A third party would look at you and say, this guy seems to have all his stuff together.
Right.
Until we have the conversation where you tell me the tensions that you deal with in your life.
Right.
When I tell you the tensions I deal with in my life and how we get over them, it doesn't mean that we're, you know, Elon Musk, brain mapping and creating Tesla.
Right.
But every time we deal with those tensions and we get past them, I think we're a step forward.
Number one. Number two, there is power and value in the sharing process.
Yeah.
Right? So a third party will see a situation and say, that looks amazing.
Yeah.
Right? And it might be amazing. But how did it become amazing?
Yeah.
Right? So you used a good word referring to success, you know, in your reference to Bill Burr. You're a lawyer. You work for company X. You have access to all these people. You have so I could say you are successful, right? Who defines success, right? So let's say just in the context of your profession, right? Mm-hmm. Who is the person to define the success? So there could be certain conventions to say, well, I mean, you know, if you're going to judge that a lawyer has been successful, maybe he will reach these certain public accolades.
Yeah.
Right? So we could say that. But if you said, you know, I'm a lawyer, I've practiced for this many years, but what I'm going to do is that I'm going to, I've got this farm, and I'm going to farm. I've got this farm, and it's going to produce. It's going to create produce, which I'm going to sell. The money that I make from that produce, I'm going to start a pro bono legal aid clinic. Mm-hmm. The farm will sustain the legal clinic. I won't practice commercially anymore, and I'm going to specialize in land rights for other smallholder farmers that are dealing with encroachment or getting their land taken from them and whatever. And I'm going to commit the rest of my life to fighting for the rights of landowners throughout Malawi. And the money to do this will come from my farm because I'm also passionate about farming. Mm-hmm. Are you not successful?
Very much so, I think.
No, you're not. You don't have a Benz. You don't have a range. You don't live in a big crib. Mm-hmm. You don't go on holiday. You're not stunting. You're not popping bottles. Mm-hmm. You're not up in blues making it rain. Mm-hmm. Your kids don't go to school X. You don't wear suit X. You don't wear watch X. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So who defines the success? You said you define it for yourself.
Is that not like a Maslow hierarchy of needs talk as well?
When you're on your farm, you're eating. It's not like you're not starving.
No, but I mean like self-actualization. If I remember, it's been a while since I've studied it.
Right.
At the top of the pyramid is self-actualization, and if I remember correctly, I don't want to misquote. It's the moment where your external successes, right, or your external whatever matches or is the same as internally. When you self-actualize and say, "This is what makes me happy, and I'm doing what makes me happy."
So why is it so hard for our generation to self-actualize or to define what self-actualization looks like for the individual?
Because, like, and once again, I studied this in first year university, right? And that's the hierarchy of needs. So if I'm wrong, just put in the comments and we'll be good. But when Maslow was drawing the pyramid, the hierarchy of needs, when you take care of basic necessities first and you move on, and he got to the top, self-actualization, he didn't have thousands and thousands of Instagram influencers showing him how much better their life was than him.
Right.
You know, so here's the thing. It's hard for us to self-actualize because if I wanted to be happy, right? I'm not saying I'm not happy, but if I want to be truly happy and content, and I think content is another story you discuss about, I would just switch off every social media I had and put time into my craft. That's all I'll do.
Okay.
I was here with Marumba last week and he was talking about putting time in the craft and we discussed 1,000 hours.
Right.
If I switched off Twitter, if I switched off Instagram, TikTok, anything that showed me any other way of life, and I said, I'm putting time into my craft, I want to be the best lawyer I can be, even if we say the farming thing, I would be happy because in the story you gave, I'm going to put myself as the protagonist. I'm a farmer. I'm also a lawyer. I'm passionate about farming. I've got a farm that is sustaining something that's giving to other people. I'm doing land rights around the country. So I'm a specialist. I know land rights. I'm doing it around the country. It's that intersectionality of like passion, profession. I'm doing everything. Here's the problem. If I open up Instagram and Harvey Specter is driving around in his Bentley telling me that if you're a lawyer, you're not driving a Bentley, you ain't doing anything. I'm going to feel worse about myself. Even though if I had that Bentley, it wouldn't make me happy.
But who said, you see, because you got to follow me, who said that when Harvey Specter says it, then it's true? Because similarly, he could say, this is, and then all you land rights lawyers could turn around and be like, this no. but this is my thing, and not to, you know, because we could go on and on. Lawyers, doctors, engineers, accountants, bankers, creatives, photographers, videographers, all of us in our spaces doing the things that we're doing. The success is yours.
Exactly.
You don't give it away. You don't get the achievements that you get and then come to my house and then I also get to be in the bar with you. The success is yours. The achievements are yours. The actualization is yours. The fulfillment is yours. You don't get to share it. So in the same way that you don't get to share it, I don't get to define it for you.
Exactly. But do you see, we've gone full circle, and that is why we're having these conversations, because it took me a while to realize that. I won't lie to you. Like, you know, there was a time I felt very bad about myself. Like, very bad. It was like, no matter what I did, I just felt like I was not doing enough.
For sure.
You know what I mean? I'll put it to you this way. I studied abroad, and you know, because we've had this conversation about it's easier now, but it's still a mission to get admitted to the bar in Malawi if you study abroad. And when I came back to Malawi, people, like a lot of people in the profession, in the fraternity, that's what they would hold that against you. So you apply for a job, and they would say, you know, we like you. You talk well, we look at your grades, we see what you've done. It's nice, but you're not admitted. I would have given you this job, but for the fact that you're admitted. And the but for test is a legal term. People, it's used in negligence, and it's like everything but for this thing.
It would have been.
And as soon as you hit the but for, right, it's late.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was it was tough to deal with. And it was like, okay, so I've done everything right, but simply because I'm not admitted. So I did the bar, had to work full time, had to go to class every day, but even after passing part of me was like, I'm still not
enough.
I'm not enough.
Yeah.
And it took me having the hard conversations with myself and saying, okay, and it's what you're saying. What definition of success am I looking for? What acceptance am I looking for? And it was because my mind had been programmed, maybe I allowed it to be programmed, to be like, unless I have 200 people liking my deep tweets and saying, yeah, Ruben, that's deep. That's something a lawyer would say.
Yeah, like, wow, man.
That's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the thing is, occasionally with me, because I used to be an influencer when that just started.
When were you an influencer?
When I was a BlackBerry ambassador.
Yeah, you were an influencer.
I was an influencer.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah,
you're a retired influencer.
I'm a retired influencer.
You had your moment.
I had my moment.
The same way I'm a retired rapper. You know what I'm saying?
But you had your moment.
I had bars still.
Bars still.
But
Don't make me
okay.
Don't make me do it.
I'm saying no, but
so what I meant was that when I was an influencer, it wasn't. I realized it wasn't what I was saying. It was the fact that people used to engage heavily because they knew I had access to a brand and parties and all that. So when that was taken away and I became just a normal professional, it was hard. It was like, okay. And that's what I mean was that it took a lot for me to realize my success, my story is my own.
Yeah.
And that's why, even on this podcast, I feel we need to keep the conversation going. Right. Because if we don't have it's what you said, it's the power in sharing. Yeah. There are people who have talked to me after this podcast and said, what you guys talked about made me realize that I'm not so aloof as I thought I was. I thought I was this person who was a failure or whatever, but I'm not, because I look at you guys and the people you have on, and they seem like you got together, but we're all the same. Right. And it's part of the same conversation, which is why I want us to keep having these conversations. So the success is yours.
Yeah. And the last thing that I will say on that, before we move on, for the segue, the success is yours. Nothing that looks, whatever it is, and it manifests itself in different places and in different ways. So whether it's your boss at work who looks like they've got it all figured out, whether it's the person you follow on Twitter who looks like they've got it all figured out, whether it's Instagram, whether it's somebody at your church, somebody in your community, somebody that you're related to, and maybe you're emulating, and whatever is informing the things that you're emulating. And I guarantee you that everything that glitters is not gold.
Yeah.
You make your own way, and and my life is not perfect. Right? So you brought up how it looks like this, and he's got this, and he's done this, and he's done. My life is not perfect, right? But my life is made easier when I'm able to be honest. Yeah. That, guys, I'm a 30-year-old man with a child, and fatherhood is hard. I don't always have it figured out. Sometimes I want to defer and be the father that my father was to me, because it's a easily accessible example. Yeah. But there are these things that I'm dealing with that hurt me from the way that my father raised me, and I want to do those things differently. Yeah. But I'm really struggling to navigate this whole thing. Can somebody help me?
Because you don't have a blueprint.
Can somebody help me?
Yeah.
Right? I feel better when I have those conversations, but those conversations are not always received very well, because I will go to another dad, and they'll be like, nah, come on, man, just right. But that's a reflection of them. Like, I'm trying to figure this thing out. But anything that comes from an internally motivated place is a good thing.
Yeah.
So I consider myself to be very successful because from an internally motivated place, my friends and I threw a party, and that party made people happy. And I am a success in that context, and nobody can take that away from me. I didn't make any money from it. I'm not famous. I didn't get any followers. But I'm successful because I made people happy, and no one can take that away from me. And there's value in that.
There is.
And the successes and the failures, the vulnerabilities, the insecurity, the confidence, and the crippling fear of success, achievement, overachieving, impressing your parents, all those things are allowed to live in the same place. You don't have to be one thing. You don't have to be... I mean, you take selfies. I don't know how to take the selfie, but as soon as I learn how to take the selfies, it's over for all these suckers.
I take them one a month, bro.
But if you don't have to be the dude who takes the selfies that gets the likes, and also not be completely insecure about how you look. You understand what I'm saying? Because you can be both at the same time, and you don't have to be only one thing. I think that's.
I love that segue. I'm gonna double down on that because so this takes me back to a conversation I was having with someone who I grew up with, who's a psychologist. They've done their masters, they're trying to get admitted. I say admitted, I don't think that's the right term, but I think licensed in Malawi, and they were telling me about how their thought process about the next step in Malawi, getting their license and all that, and they were telling me that they have very negative thoughts before they ever overcome something. So before they achieve the next step, they have like a painful process of feeling like they're not good enough, or should I do this? They get out of it, but it's painful. And I said, look, you're the psychologist. However, I feel as though that tension, and it's part of the tensions we've been talking about, it's a necessary evil if you want more in life.
Right.
Because a word I don't like is content. Because content kind of means no matter what, I'm good.
Right.
And I don't think that's right. I think we are allowed to dream of more. We're allowed to want more. As you said, you're allowed to be a better dad than you feel your dad was. It doesn't mean your dad was a bad dad.
Right.
What it means is that there are certain things, and I've experienced this too. There are times I have conversations with my dad and my mom, and thankfully through age, we reach a stage where we can talk to each other as not equals, but we can talk to each other as adults.
Right.
And I can say to them, there's some things you said to me when I was younger that fucked me up.
Right.
We can edit that out. Like, messed me up.
Yeah.
Being better is not a bad thing. However, wanting to be better is painful because it means you take stock of your deficiencies
For sure.
and what you have to improve on.
For sure.
Now, we say all that to say this. You are someone who decided that the parties, the places I go to, not that they're not enough, but they're deficient in terms of they don't cater for a certain type of individual.
Yeah.
Right? And that movement is beats bars and culture. I really want to hear from you because I don't want to give anything away. I want to hear from you. How did that start? How did you come up with this crazy idea? You said no money, but people got angry at you for not having enough capacity. So tell us about that.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy that it became what it became because of where it started from. And not to put too fine a point to it, but myself and a friend of mine, it was his birthday at his house. Must have been 1 o'clock in the morning. We're 2-3 bottles of Jameson in at this point.
Yeah, we're partying.
And the dude just went on the laptop, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, and he just went through like 5 or 6 Jay-Z songs like back to back. And everyone is rapping along in the moment, right? And in that moment it's a scenario that can only happen at a house party.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to a club and hearing 5 or 6 Jay-Z songs back to back. So in this moment we're doing it.
It's gonna be an Amapiano Jay-Z mix.
God forbid.
Welcome to New York.
God forbid. God forbid.
So, they exist.
So
I'm sure they exist.
So in that moment he says to me, Twape, why don't people ever throw parties where they only play hip hop? He asked me. And I was like, well, because if you're only playing hip hop, at some point someone's gonna ask to listen to Burna Boy or Wizkid or Davido, or because people go to parties to dance. And he was like, man, I wish I could go to a party that only plays hip hop. And then we continued drinking and we left it. And the next day I went to Sunday Blues and I was sitting with another friend of mine. I said the same thing. I said to him, I was having this conversation with so-and-so, and
But I've get to offer as a sponsor. Because Sunday Blues comes up a lot. Maybe I go too much.
Maybe we both go too much.
Maybe we both go too much.
Yeah, but essentially we're having this conversation. I say to this person, I was having a conversation with so-and-so, and he said, why don't we throw a party that only plays hip-hop? And he turns away and he looks at me and he goes, let's do it. I was like, what? He's like, let's throw this party. Why not? Are there not enough people in Blantyre who love listening to hip-hop that they'd want to go to the party? So the party, Beats, Bars and Culture, is a party thrown by 4 people, myself and 3 other people, and a very, very honorable mention needs to go to Sharon Kadangwe, who is the creative director of the party. She's the if myself and my 2 friends are the brains, she's the body. Like it doesn't happen without her, you know. And essentially, you know, when we all came together, we said we have to create a platform that promotes Malawian rappers as well. Yeah. Right? You know, we would be remiss if we threw a party and we were just playing American rappers, you know, throughout. But the I tell you where the party came from to give you the context of what the party became. It was supposed to be a party. It's not a concert, it's not an event, it's not a festival, it's a party. So we sat down and we said, what are the elements that you need for a successful party? Music, booze,
of course,
loud music, and people that you want to be around. If you're a guy, that's probably a girl.
Number one.
And if you're a girl, that's probably a guy.
Number one.
So
he's saying, but I know what he's talking about.
So these are the 4 elements. So we got a venue, we got speakers, we got DJs to play on those speakers, and then we made it open bar. We made it open in that you can bring your own booze, unlimited. You can bring a cooler, you can bring a bottle, you can bring a crate, you can bring a whatever. Bring whatever it is that you're drinking. And we had all the elements that we thought were necessary to have a successful party. And the only unique thing about this party, like any other party you go to, is that the only music you're going to listen to when you go there is hip hop. And the party was inspired by recreating that moment that we had at my friend's birthday party, where it was, let's have a party where that music that you would probably only listen to in your earphones or in your car, listen to it on a loudspeaker. Listen to Can't Tell Me Nothing on a loudspeaker. Listen to Otis on a loudspeaker. Listen to California Love on a loudspeaker. Listen to...
And bro, you know, here's the thing, which I need to cut you for a second, because I've been to both. Otis. Yeah. Right? Otis, Can't Tell Me Nothing. No, those have been... What's the right word? You know, those... What's the term for something that you enjoy, but you enjoy by yourself? It's not a painful pleasure. It's a silent... It's a silent enjoyment, right? Because it's something which, you know, there'll be times I'll be driving, right? And you know, Otis comes on my shuffle, and I'm like,
it makes it easier.
Yeah, right. And things like, I'll be in my car, and first thing I do, aircon, roll up the windows, because you know I don't want to be seen. I just want to like geek out for that moment and be like, this was such a jam. For sure. And I felt for the longest time that that was just me. Like, you know, that's that. When I go into those pockets, that's a Ruben thing by himself. Yeah. We played Otis. You played Otis, rather. Yeah. Beats, Bars, Culture. Yeah. There were, you know, people under 20, people over 30, rapping word for word to Otis. Because it's hip hop royalty.
It was insane.
It was insane.
It was insane.
And I love that, because it was like I'm not alone. Yeah. Because you think because Otis is how many years old is it? It's
2000 and
it's like it's 12.
11, 10, 11, something.
11, yeah, something like 11. That's 9 years ago now. Yeah. And you think that you're the only person that listened to that song at that time, and you're like in a time capsule. Whenever you listen to that song at that age, that's what you are. But the people who could have been like, that's 9 years ago, right? Right. The people could have been 11 at that time. Yeah. that still know that song.
Yeah.
And still know the lyrics.
But you see, but that's not. But it's not only that. And it goes back, because all these things that we're talking about are linked. It goes back to doing things that come from an internally motivated place, because it wasn't only the club bangers. It wasn't only the N-word in Paris songs that were ringing off. Because when you've got DJs that are playing hip hop, you're also playing the more track 7.
Mm-hmm.
Go to a party where you listen to track 7. Track 7, any album, track 7.
Mm-hmm.
Track 7 it's not a hit, it's not a single, but you love tracks. Everybody loves track 7.
Everybody.
You know, but you don't get to hear it. So you had, we were blessed. We were blessed to have the King's Rifles come. We were blessed to have Sage Poet come. We were blessed to have Classic perform. And these are rappers or MCs that are like.
But it was homegrown with Classic.
Well, it was Classic. It was Classic's performance.
Classic performance. But
Classic performed in his own capacity. He came as Class.
Yes.
And then there was a moment.
There was a moment. It was more than a moment.
Yeah,
it was monumental. Yes. I nearly cried.
I was crying.
Yeah,
you were nearly crying.
I nearly cried because I was holding it together. But I'm really crying now.
But Classic, we need to give Classic his props, because Classic came in his own capacity, and he held it down. And he has Pisces, which is out now on Wall Street Platform, and he held it down. But this is a lot of very lyric-driven hip hop, which if you listen to somebody like Sage, who's a very technically gifted rapper, one could argue that maybe his music isn't really made for parties. Mm-hmm. He destroyed it.
Killed it.
He destroyed. I mean, it was
Rumble.
It was ridiculous. He performed Melanin Monroe, and these girls were just there, like I don't even know what's going on right now. And it was again about internally motivated places and doing things because we all love hip hop. So I want to listen to Otis at ignorant levels of loud, but I also want to listen to a Nas song where I'm just listening to the lyrics and appreciating the bars. But the fact of the matter is that I love hip hop so much, and there's so many people who love hip hop, that we can do both while drinking with our friends and enjoying ourselves, right? So if you play a track off the Lost Tapes by Nas and you're drinking with your boy, and then right after that they play a crazy Dr. Dre, play Kush, and it's just like, all those things can exist in the same place, but it all comes from a place of love and a place of, like we all love this thing. And it to go back to your original question, that's how Beats, Bars, and Culture came about. That's what we want to do. The focus remains on it being a party and it being a good time, but every single party must highlight Malawian talent, be it the DJ, be it the rappers, and create a space, because Beats, Bars, and Culture, and the name of the party came from that. Beats, bars, and culture, and all the things that envelop that. So if you come to Beats, Bars, and Culture with your camera, we're not going to turn you away. Take pictures, right? So we've got photographers, we've got the graffiti board. We've got the graffiti board that we have at every party, where you can just go and bomb that, it's people dancing. We themed the last party so people could express themselves and how they were dressed and you were like the 5th member of NWA at the last party, and it's just however you want to represent.
I was the first member, bro.
I beg your pardon. And it was just, it's just all those things that, like, Malawians are super duper talented.
Yeah.
They're great Malawian podcasters. They're great.
Put the camera on me. Put the camera on me. There you go, man.
They're great Malawian podcasters. They're great Malawian poets. They're great Malawian rappers. They're great Malawian producers. They're great Malawian sound engineers. They're great Malawian videographers, photographers, mixing. You know what I mean? And it's just, in our very small way, we try to shine a light on them.
You gave them a platform.
And we have to.
And that is, oh man, I don't know how big I can say that is, because I believe the same thing. I believe that Malawians are great people. I believe we don't believe it yet, as a collective. I don't think we yet. So let me put it this way: if I tell you Let me put it this way: if artist comes to me and he says, "Ruben, you've got this podcast. I'm looking to be linked with someone who can shoot my upcoming music video," right? I believe at this stage where we're at, if I tell them, "Okay, I've got two people for you. I've got one dude, his name is Polycarp from Studio Oxygen. He can shoot your music video. He's Malawian. And the other guy is right von whatever thing. He's German, European. He might be in here for a bit, but like, yeah, he gonna shoot your video."
Right.
I feel as though people will gravitate naturally towards the foreign talent.
Right.
And I feel as though it goes back so many times as to why I started this. It's because it's a different way, but same as beats, bars, culture. I didn't know. I knew Kananji. I didn't know about King's Rifles.
Yeah.
I didn't know about King Kananji, 5 Letters,
Right.
Bass. I didn't know about them.
Right.
But when Basic was playing,
Yeah.
when 5 Ella and King Kananji were rapping, I was like, this is something I didn't know I needed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have so much talent in Malawi.
Yeah.
We really do. The sad part is most talents in Malawi don't have a platform.
Right.
They don't have a platform to showcase what they can do. And I want to lead into this because there's a certain part of me when I've met so many people who say, I'm if I'm Malawi. And they say that in terms of, they use that as an excuse. Why were you late? I'm if I'm Malawi. Why was this not right? I'm if I'm Malawi. And it's wrong because Malawi has talent. It's abundant in talent. There's so many people who are better than international players at what they do. They don't have the platform, right? The moment I think we have that mental shift and we have more platforms like Beats Bars Culture, because I can tell you blew King's Rifles up. You really did. I don't know if you know that.
They didn't need me.
They didn't need you.
They were good without me.
No. It's not about, it's not like you wrote their lyrics, right?
Right.
But you know how many fans, how many people who were exposed to them purely because of beats?
Right. Yeah, but that's...
You're bad at taking compliments.
I'm not bad at taking compliments. You giving me that compliment is... Okay, this is what I believe about talent.
Yeah.
Right? Because what are the elements if you're an artist like King's Rifles, right? There's certain elements that come into it, right? There's talent, creativity, execution, and consistency.
Yeah.
Right? They were gonna get. There's certain people and certain things that I see in Malawi where this is gonna go.
It's gonna go.
It's gonna. Hayes Angola, King's Rifles, Zaluso Arts, K-Panga, what's this kid's name?
Yeah,
it's gonna go.
I read his mind.
It's gonna go. That kid, man, Jesus in heaven. It's
oh, when I hear that,
boss, there's the what's this kid's name in Lilongwe? The R&B kid, light skin, Lucio.
Oh, Lucio. Yeah.
It's gonna go. It does. You like it, don't like it, support it, don't support it. It's gonna go. What? So the reason that I'm reluctant to take the compliment, right? The King's Rifles album, Love and Revolution, is one of the best hip hop albums I have ever heard in my life.
Regardless of Malawi.
So to the point that my friends and I maybe threw a party that helped expose them to more people, but they were gonna get there eventually. Maybe what we were able to do was we made the discovery process 3 months shorter, but it was gonna happen because you can't stop that. When it's going, it's going. But what I wanted to say, and there was two things off of the back of what you were just saying, is two things, and because you know me, because when I go, I can go. Your example of the person that needs a video, who might lean towards the European person as opposed to working with Polycarp at Studio Oxygen, right? There are so many things that we as Black Africans need to unlearn, right? one of the most insidious things about colonialism is
I love these words.
It is insidious.
Yeah.
Because it's evil. And
It's
evil and it's malicious and it's intentional.
Yeah.
To make you think that if it's white, it's better.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you. Yeah.
If it's white, it's better. Right? So using your example, I bet you this person that you put these two video directors in front of this artist in this hypothetical situation, and the German guy charges 1 million kwacha to do the video, and Polycop from Studio Oxygen charges 1 million kwacha to do the. Do you know where the most insidious, where the dismantling of the black psyche really presents itself? It's not even in the fact that you lean towards the German director. It's the fact that when you see that the price is the same, you, as the person who's requesting the service, are like, well, then why is he charging the same as him?
Yeah.
He should be cheaper.
Yeah.
That's how ingrained it is.
Yeah.
Right? And that's and it manifests itself in tokenism and wanting to be the token black guy and so that's one thing which we need to unlearn. The other thing is that you can get caught up in making excuses and saying, yeah, well, it's the white man's fault because the white man, he made me and he did this and he did this and he. You are what you are in this world, and we have the history that we have.
Yeah.
That is not then an excuse to be lazy, to be late, to be inconsistent, to be unprofessional.
Yeah.
Right? Because
that's all in your control.
It is all in your control, number one. That's a one. The two is that what we as Malawians need to do is that we need to, create our own standards. I don't believe that we need to set our standards based on the West, but we need you. Malawi is the only place in the world where when you complain, the people look at you like, I'm paying for the service. I'm complaining because I'm not getting the service that I paid for in this exchange, and they look at you like you're Uvuda. I said Uvuda. I paid for this. You owe me. This is the exchange. So the point that I'm making is that whether it's a photographer, whether it's a lawyer, if you are a service provider, if you're providing a service, and it doesn't matter whether or not it's free. This, what you're talking about, and going back to King's Rifles and parties and creating a platform, it doesn't work if I create a platform to promote people, to promote Malawian artists, and they're late and they're lazy and they're unprofessional, because one of the biggest problems that we have in business in Malawi is that we're not serious.
Yeah.
You need to be serious. This is dead serious. This is serious stuff. I don't give a damn whether you sell, if your business is selling, if you're a young lady and you sell weaves, right? You need to be the best wig, wigs, whatever. You need to be the best wig seller that's ever existed. You need to be on point. You need to be on time. Your wigs need to be the best quality. You need to make it convenient for you. You can't be a wig seller. People are trying to holler at you on WhatsApp and then you're replying 3 hours late. And then you want to turn around and say, oh, Malawians don't support one another. I'm not supporting you if you're not professional.
Straight.
So you need to be on point. So yes, there are all these disadvantages and all these things that have stunted us. And yes, do we need to work twice as hard to get half as much? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are we never going to get a fair shake? Absolutely. Is this a white man's world? Absolutely. Is the black woman right at the bottom of the totem pole? Absolutely. However, in the context that we're living in and the things that we're pushing, you got to show up, bro.
Got to show up.
You don't get points you don't get points from me for just being there. If you're listen, man, if you're a photographer and I book you for my wedding and you show up in a football jersey to shoot my wedding, I'm going to fight you.
Yeah. It's your wedding.
Be a professional.
Be professional.
Dress the part. Give me my photos on time. Edit them in the time that you said. And then multiply this by every single industry that we have.
Yeah.
If you're a lawyer and you're going to give me this, you say you're going to give me this document on this day, give me the document. And if you can't, communicate to me that I can't deliver on this day because of such and
I
such.
should let you know the day your case is coming. I should be there on time. I should let you know beforehand. had stuff ready.
And that goes from the shop teller to the bank teller to the bank I was having this conversation with my boy yesterday. We're in the process of setting up a business. And this is an actual conversation that two 30-year-old black men are having in Malawi, where we're saying, all right, this business is going to need a bank account, right? And we're like, well, which bank do we know the most people in so that we can get preferential treatment? It's a bank. I'm a customer. I'm going to be bringing money into your bank. Therefore, the treatment should be the same whether I'm CEO X or I'm Joe Blogs. That's what I'm saying. But that's not how it works. In Malawi, you need to be or you need to know so and so in order to get a superior level of service.
And I want to make this clear. That's not even corruption. That's just saying we want to open. We want to be attended to. You get what I mean? Like that's.
You see what I'm saying? So
that's crazy.
And for me, and something that I'm very passionate about, and this last podcast that I've just released touches on that, is that
link in the video description.
Is that, bro, there's no president or leader that's going to come and change Malawi independently, right? We, as Malawians, need to change. We, as people that work in banks, need to show up to work and give the same level of service to the gentleman who just walked off the street and the gentleman that's in premier banking. We, as people that work in supermarkets, must give the same service to the white lady as we give to the black lady. We, as people that work in filling stations, must pump gas the same way for the guy in the benzo as the guy in the belter. It needs to be across the board. We need to set standards for ourselves. We need to set standards for our children. We need to set standards for our communities. It's just not good enough. You can't have a whole country that's based on patronage and favors. It's just
it's not. And then growing up, I used to love our slogan, "Warm Heart of Africa." The older I got, I started falling out of love with it, because when I hear the warm heart of Africa, I'm like, okay, so we're a country which is warm and welcoming.
Right.
Why don't I feel that as a Malawian?
Right.
And I realized, if I'm being honest, I feel like it talks to the foreigners. When you talk about someone from outside of Malawi, then with the warm heart of Africa, then, hey boss, what you want? You know what I mean? But if you're not, if you're Malawian, you're Dani, who are you? It's like, but I should not have to flex any type of financial muscle to any Malawian to be treated equally.
It's definitely far better to be a foreigner in Malawi than to be a Malawian.
No, definitely.
100%.
Definitely. Sometimes, with the beard I have, and I'm just blessed that it grew. I just wish.
Man said I'm blessed that it grew.
I'm blessed it grew. I just wish I was just 2 tones lighter, because then I'd really pass off as something else. Because there are times when I walk in Limby and I get discounts. For real.
But that colorism, right? And it's the way it exists in our minds is a direct result of colonialism and neo-colonialism. And
because the lighter you are, the closer you are to the white person.
But not even that. If you look at mass media and the mass marketing machine, see, you're trying to get me to go. I'm not trying to go all conspiracy. I'm not trying to go all conspiracy theory on you. But the fact of the matter is that the mass marketing machine, which has billions of dollars pumped into it every year, represents the black woman as being more beautiful if she's light. Tell me how crazy this is. Beyonce has a new album that she put out. She put out a video, and I don't know the details because I'm not a member of the Beehive. But I try to keep.
Black is king.
I think Black is king, and there's a music video. Let's get to the point.
There's multiple,
But there is a particular music video in which Beyonce is sitting at a table with other black people. There's a white butler serving Beyonce. The narrative that begins on the internet is that Beyonce is promoting black supremacy by subjugating this white guy in this music video. I'm a Christian. Don't make me curse on this episode trying to make me understand what on earth that even means.
I don't get it.
What does that mean? Why does everything have to be so much harder for the black man and woman? Why?
I'll give you a good, bad example. Why is Batman not subjugating Alfred?
Because he's white.
Yeah, they're both white.
Yeah.
Alfred.
So the problem isn't that the butler is white. The problem is that the Bwana
is black. That's it.
Say less.
That's it.
I got nothing more for you.
We have watched Batman for I don't know how many years. Batman Begins, Batman Ends, Batman versus Robin. It's all good, but we've never had an issue with Alfred because Alfred has been a beloved character. But Alfred's never worked for a black person.
I'll say all that to say this. In my work as an economist, in my work as a financial planner, in my work now producing a podcast, in my passion to now throw these parties, in my business as a distributor, it is incumbent on our generation to tell our own stories, to empower ourselves with information and ideas. So we can't just let things happen. We can't allow ourselves to just just be like on the bus, just rolling along without really asking the pertinent questions.
Yeah.
We're allowing ourselves to be influenced to buy things we don't need, to impress people we don't know, to put on an internet we don't own, to pay for data we can't afford, to do all these. Let's stop, have the conversation, define success, self-actualization, happiness for ourselves. And you had asked me to be on your podcast to say, in the context of all these things that I was doing. And I said at the beginning that all I want is for people to say that I did some good. If we disseminate this information and we empower ourselves with this information and we navigate the challenges that some that have always been there, some that we're putting there for ourselves, maybe after all is said and done, we'll be all right.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, jiggy jiggy.